Hello, hello. Okay, so I wanted to have this episode to talk about the healing journey and also just navigating it, especially at, I feel like, such a big time of year. There's a lot of holidays in December, and we're all mostly thinking about, like the next year. So we're finishing 2022, which is wild to even think about. And it's like, okay, a lot of us are in this transition period where we are thinking about fresh starts and who do we want to be going into the next year and having all these big ambitions and goals and New Year's resolutions and also just it, I associate it with, a transition period because a lot of the time that having that fresh start at such a big time, like that January 1st, can be really helpful for a lot of us. And so I wanted this to be a reflection episode of just really tapping into how we're navigating these things. Like, what does this look like? And so I wanted to bring this up because a lot of the time when we think about our healing journey, I feel like on the outside, especially when we see other people's lives, we think that, the healing journey is doing a 5 a.m. morning routine and having all of these different habits in our morning that we do before we start our day, or, allowing ourselves to do like the workout and the healthy eating and doing all of these things and tapping into breath work and just really having like those solid tools, which, yeah, they are beautiful, amazing tools that can support us. And that's on the outside. And so I wanted to bring this in because a lot of the time we can feel stuck or feel defeated when we look on that surface level, right? Of like seeing what everyone else is doing. And especially when this is such a high time of looking at our own goals and achievements and like where we want to be in life, a lot of the time that can bring in comparison. And so, yes, like these types of tools are beautiful and amazing to build a stronger sense of self trust and well being, like over time, if you build those into your practices. But healing is so much deeper than that. And I just wanted to like paint a different picture here because I want to just share this as like a moment to love up on all of you and say, like, in all of those micro moments, you've decided in the smallest way to make a slight difference in your own behaviors and in responses to others. That is the true healing and the true growth. So I wanted to just like take that moment for you to see this as well and like to hear it as well, is that like healing isn't about what you do, but the deeper part of it is how you think and feel while you are doing those actions. Like, I could be doing a full morning routine and working out and eating all the things, but if I am still shitting on myself in my self talk, if I am still doubting myself internally, those things are not going to be as supportive and as expansive and allow me to step into like that next level version of myself, or even being able to like, I might do those things and hope and expect to move the needle forward into those big goals and those big ideas that we all have. And we're like checking those boxes. And I feel like that's what society tends to make us feel, is that like if we check all those boxes, if we do all of those things, then we will be successful, then we will be happier, then everything will be more aligned. And it's like at the end of the day, that none of that will matter if you don't believe in yourself, if you're shitting on yourself, if you are letting that negative turmoil dictate how you be in this world. That's going to be the biggest changes in essentially who you be in this world. And so I wanted to just kind of take that lens to share, like, we are all doing so much deep healing work, and I feel like a lot of the time we don't realize it. And so when we are healing that inner world, it drastically supports our outer world. So healing in this way could be, like accepting those difficult thoughts with a lot more love and compassion. And even if you do that one time or two times or three times, like, yeah, we're going to have hundreds of difficult thoughts. But if you allow yourself to catch even just one of those, you are on the path of healing. You're moving yourself towards that future self that you really want to step into. And, healing can also look like managing your emotions and tapping into these like new beliefs. And healing is also really like acknowledging challenges from a lens of seeing it as an opportunity rather than a detriment to you. And a lot of the time it comes from having different perspectives, like having a more open mind to certain situations. So it's like two people can go through the exact same challenge and see it two completely different ways, depending on their past experiences and essentially like how they perceive the world. That ultimately is what mindset means, right? And so if we look to the world more with a growth mindset of being more open and seeing things from an opportunity, it reduces that moment where we can really go down that negative spiral and believing these challenges are out to get us and things like that. And so it really comes back to when we're thinking about healing and moving and adapting, like in that process, holding ourselves accountable in moments when we want to fall back in our old ways. And as I said, even if you do this like one time, like you remember, oh, there was this one time I really wanted to just veg out on the couch and do absolutely nothing. But instead, I got up and I did my night routine and I went to bed like early and I gave myself space to unwind. That is healing. It's all in those micro moments. And especially one of the biggest ones is taking a pause before you respond to somebody or some situation. That is honestly one of the biggest evolutions when it comes to emotional intelligence and shifting our own perspective and being open and changing our own ways of operating. Taking that one tiny pause and breathe before you respond to something creates a drastic shift in the trajectory of your life. And I know that sounds very dramatic, but that is the key point that I'm trying to get at here is it is in those micro moments, that one time that you took a pause and you decided to say a different response, that is healing right now, right there. And, like when you get to the level where you're no longer hiding your needs and your desires and you're allowing yourself to speak up more about it, like that is healing. That's huge. Setting boundaries and learning to say no. Once again, even if it's that micro moment where you do it for the first time and maybe it doesn't work out the way you thought, or maybe you didn't express it in the way that you're anticipating, but that micro moment where you decided to make that decision and speak up and say that is healing in and of itself. And this kind of ties into expectations too, is that like really allowing yourself to release this need to control outcomes and how things are perceived and how things play out, and releasing that and saying, you know what? Like, if I was true to myself in that moment, that's what matters. And that is a huge part of this process. And so, a bigger component to that too is like feeling safe in your own decision making without constantly justifying those decisions or trying to please others. That is huge in the healing process. And, keeping promises to yourself is one of the things that ties into, you know, that consistent repetitive aspect of building that self-trust and confidence over time, which those tiny promises don't necessarily need to be these big morning routines or these big gestures. I'm talking like you wake up and you take 2 deep breaths for yourself and you say like a loving statement to yourself. I'm talking you're drinking your morning coffee and you take 30 seconds to be very mindful and present with that coffee. And you look at the swirls in your cup and you smell, like, took a real deep breath in and like smell that delicious coffee and like look out the window. Those micro moments make all the difference. And so I just wanted to share this like tidbit when it comes to healing, is because especially during the holidays, we can, you know, doubt our ability to persevere as this beautiful version of ourselves that we have done so much healing. And holidays especially can be a time where we're going back into, our family home, where a lot of these like triggers and experiences and things where it feels a lot harder to navigate. And I just want to share, like, as I'm talking to all of this, like when we heal and when we're moving through things, like we desire to expand into another, an up-leveled version of ourselves. But I also just want to take the time here as I'm sharing all of these little nuggets and perspectives, is that who you are today, right now, like your current self, is just as beautiful and powerful and amazing as the version of you that, like, your future self that you're moving towards. And I think there's this big element that, sometimes we feel this need to try to fix ourselves. And so who you are right now is so worthy and deserving of whatever you desire today, right now. And so I just wanted to share this lens because, like, you do not have to fix yourself or even find yourself. Like, you can tap into areas that you desire to lean more into. And you can also, a part of this healing process is not only expanding into like where we desire to be, but also loving the heck out of who we are today. Like this current version of ourselves that's getting us through these challenges, getting us through these, family dynamics that we might have to walk through over the holidays, and persevering and allowing ourselves to take those steps as this like current version of us. And like, I just want to love up, like, take the time to love up on like who you are in this minute, today, right now, in this second, is the exact person that is going to get you towards the desires you want. And so when we look to ourselves, sometimes we might going back to expectations and wanting to have certain outcomes at certain times, and we almost put this pressure on ourselves to be a certain way by a certain time, and especially if we're going into holidays and seeing old friends or family members that could bring up old emotions and feelings and old versions of ourselves that we are no longer aligned with. It's in those moments where it's like, current today you is the one that's going to move you through that. And it's okay of like where you are today, moving through all of this, and your past self might want to come out and be like, well, every time you go to these events and these holiday things and these, family gatherings, you always act in this way. So like you might as well, you know, just go in with that mentality and just deal with it. And sometimes we can let our past dictate our future and our current self too, and where we're currently at. And so I just want to take that moment to say, who you currently are today, regardless of like where you desire to be as like that future self of you, like who you are today is absolutely amazing and brilliant, and moving you through those big moments. There is nothing to fix about your current self. It's more about connecting with those parts of you that you're still navigating in current day, and just like give yourself those moments to love up on them, connect with them. And so you might walk into a family event or a holiday gathering, and like these old parts of you might like burst at the seams to like want to come up. And going back to this whole conversation about healing is like you, by taking a step into those scenarios and navigating it as best as you can currently is healing. And whatever you decide to do over the holidays is exactly perfect for you as like where you are. And I just wanted to add that and, challenge you to say, just because you acted a certain way in a certain circumstance in the past does not mean you have to continue in that way going forward. So I wanted to give all of these messages as we go through the holiday season, and especially when we're thinking of it's a new year, new challenges or new changes or new goals and where we aspire to be. And there's a lot of newness or actually old scenarios too, if we're going into holidays and going into old spaces we might not have been going into. There's a lot of things, right? And so I just wanted to share this lens to say every step that you have taken so far is beautiful and amazing. And healing is not a linear journey, it goes up and down. And every micro moment that you decide to say no to something, or you decide to leave an event early, or at the holidays, you decide to bring healthy foods so that you can support your new diet or lifestyle. It's like you can decide to make those choices if you desire to. And there is nothing wrong with you, there's nothing to be fixed. You exactly who you are currently is what gets you towards your future self. And so I just wanted to share that as like a ending reminder and say like love up on this version of you that's like navigating these things and moving you towards like all of those big exciting things that you're wanting to move into. And so I'll end there by bringing this all together of just putting a hand on your heart and taking a deep breath in and just allowing yourself to say, I am exactly where I'm meant to be. And it is safe to love all parts of who I am right now in this moment and desire more for where I want to go. You get to have it all. You get to have both. You get to have this version of you and expand into where you desire to be. And the healing journey is such a roller coaster, but like think of a roller coaster where you're going up, 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 like when you think of like it's like tick, 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 like it's making that sound, those little tick, tick, tick moments where you're going up that roller coaster. Those little like tick, 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 those little parts that push the roller coaster cart up on those hard times, those are micro moments that you are choosing yourself. And I really just wanted to bring this, I keep saying micro, but this tiny lens of healing and just sharing with you. Like, I see you. I see all those tiny moments that you have decided and made a choice that is in alignment for you and where you're desiring to go. And like you stepping into your values, I see it in those beautiful, mini, tiny moments in your day. You're doing the dang thing, and I see you. So that's my message for you today. I love you all so much. If there's any specific topic that you would love for me to talk on or expand onto, or if there's any specific thing that you've heard so far on the podcast that you want to learn more about, reach out, come say hi. If this resonated with you, I would love to connect. Send me a DM on Instagram. And if you're desiring support on how to navigate through these things and you just really want somebody in your back pocket to be like, hey, I want to work through these things, and having the resources on hand that give you simple action steps to navigate yourself through those micro moments that you are going through and get that long term mentorship by me. I have an amazing long term membership called the Redefined Collective, and it starts in January. And I'm so, so excited. So if that like pulls at your heartstrings and you're like, ooh, I would love to get supported as I navigate all the changes that you're walking through, I am here. And if you want more intimate support, there are some one-on-one spots available in one-on-one coaching with me as well. So if any of this resonates, if you want to just pop into Instagram, say hi, I would love to chat, and I will chat with you guys next week. Bye.